I suppose on some level, every actor aspires to be a chameleon, and by that measure, few are as gifted as Idris Elba. Think about it. He's nailed it as an American gangster.
I gotta remind who the you work for?
A British detective.
Everyone, take cover!
A temporary boss at a paper company.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Great.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Great.
Okay, Michael.
Okay, Michael.
No,
what you
seriously.
doing?
Beyonce's husband.
You are so bad.
And a Norse frickin' god.
Do you think that you can deceive me?
Now, the real Idris Elba moved to the U.S. from London, the city where he grew up, and his big break came on what might have been the greatest TV series ever, at least it was to me.
Man, we done worrying about territory, man, what corner we got, what project. Game ain't about that no more. It's about product.
That is The Wire. He was Stringer Bell, and he did it with such a dead-on American accent, nobody had any idea he was British.
Adjourn your asses.
So with the critics and the fans still obsessing over Stringer years later, how does he feel about the legacy of The Wire? Especially now that he's got so much else going on. He goes after Nick Cage, in a way, in Ghost Rider 2, and a few weeks back, he signed on to play Nelson Mandela in an upcoming film about the great Mandela's life. Now, for any actor, how daunting is that? Even one who scored a Golden Globe this year for his work on Luther, which is a BBC drama about a brilliant, yet over-the-line detective.
Stay away from Zoe!
Oh, and in his spare time, Idris is a musician and DJ who often goes by the name Big Driss.
Show me where you coming from, girl.
Now he's in Canada shooting a movie called Pacific Rim. It's giant monsters versus giant robots. And if it sounds crazy, well, for Idris, it's just another transformation.
Oh, what a treat. Please welcome Idris Elba. Good job. Oh. How are you, man? Hi, everyone. I'm good. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm really good. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you, man. You've been shooting in Canada for a bit, right?
I have. I've been in Toronto Pinewood for about 5 months.
What can you tell us
I'm
about
a native.
Pacific Rim?
I love it.
You love it, that's right. What can you say about Pacific Rim? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro, he did, Pan's Labyrinth. He's Hellboy. He's an amazing director. And, he called me and said, this is a true story. He said, listen, Tom Cruise doesn't want to do it, so I want you.
Just like that?
I said, okay. Thanks, Tom.
But do you feel more or less pressure to take a role like that if it comes with the caveat that Tom Cruise said no?
Actually, I'm not sure if that was a rumor or a joke. Guillermo del Toro has a huge sense of humor. But, yeah, of course, the role was a coveted role, and I'm sure Tom would have loved to have done it. I'm sure they tried to work it out or whatever. But, yeah, the fact that, someone as big as Tom Cruise could have been playing this role, and here I am, it does add a certain sort of responsibility almost,
Sure. Good sci-fi has to have a message behind it.
Yeah.
That's the art to good sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's important for your choices in films you make?
Yeah, I think, the films that I'm leaning towards, for most actors, you don't get to choose your roles. You get a job, you work it, and you move on. And as, I sort of climb the ladder a little bit, I get to choose roles. So now I'm choosing films that have something to say. It's important, if I'm going to spend 2.5 hours watching a movie, or an hour, or whatever, I want a message from it. So, and this film, although it's a huge sci-fi movie, it does a really great human story in it.
Speaking of a movie with a message, you're going to play Nelson Mandela. That's some heavy duty, right?
Very. Yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity to play Nelson.
Have you ever met him?
No.
Will you get to meet him?
I think I will get to meet him. And he knows that I'm playing the part. And there's a great story that the director, Justin Chadwick, told me. He said he had the privilege of meeting Winnie Mandela and Nelson's 2 daughters. And he said, he played the guessing game. He said, guess who's going to play your dad? And they all looked at each other and went, is it Idris Elba?
What?
And I was like, what? Winnie Mandela knows me?
That's amazing. Do you think she knows you from Luther or from The Wire?
I think it's Tyler Perry's film, Daddy's Little Girl. I think it's
yeah?
one of her favorite films. So
That's an interesting place to be.
Yeah.
You're getting this opportunity to go and play in this iconic figure. You've also had the joy of being an iconic guy in American television, and you've been building an iconic role with Luther in England. What's your relationship like with the Stringer Bell thing? Because I've interviewed a lot of people who've played characters before that are memorable, but when Michael Kenneth Williams was on the show, when we told people you were coming on the show, people who love The Wire, it's a different relationship with the character. What is your relationship with it like now?
Yeah, Stringer is, I played Stringer at a time of my career when, I'd moved to the States and I wasn't working. I was working prior in England, doing well, and then came to the States and didn't get a job for about 4 years, and Stringer was my lifeline. And then I played Stringer for about 3 years, and, my relationship with the character, with the show, is that, first of all, it changed my life. But it continues to sort of like, everywhere I go still, and it's like 7 years since I did the show, everywhere I go, there are still huge Stringer fans. And, it wows me that I touch so many people, that the writing, the characters in The Wire touch so many people. I mean, it wows me.
We can't talk about what happens to Stringer Bell because it's his own story there. But at a certain point, when you're at a film and a show like that, do you become defiant about your character with the writers? Do you think you know what Stringer needs to be about? And I wonder if it's the same thing with Luther in your new show.
Well, yeah, there's what happens to Stringer in the end for some people who don't know. But there's a certain sequence that Stringer goes through in the third season, and I remember David Simon and I having a conversation about how we should portray this. And I had to fight.
You fought him, eh?
I had to. I mean, he had a certain idea of how Stringer should go out, and I was on the same page with him. Stringer should go out. But how was we had a little bit of a battle on. And yeah, of course, when you've sort of worked on a character for 3 years and you're part owner of that character, you are responsible. You feel like you are responsible for what happens to him.
I know when people find out, first of all, that McNulty isn't American and you aren't American, it's a shock to them. So what's it like the first time that I heard that you are like, what? When you meet people and they go, Stringer Bell, and then they hear your voice, do you ever see a visceral reaction from them?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, for about 2 years after playing Stringer, I had an identity crisis. I didn't know what my own accent was.
But I heard you auditioned with an American accent, and the guys didn't even know you were British beforehand.
Yeah, no, I did 4 auditions for it over a space of about 2 months, and it wasn't until the last audition they were like, "Where are you from?" Do I lie? I've been here three times already. Do I lie? So I said, "Oh, I'm from East London, man." And he was like, "Wow!" And then they were really impressed.
Is it different for a different experience as a black actor in England as opposed to a black actor in America?
What's a black actor? No.
You know what I mean? No, but I know obviously,
no, absolutely,
yeah.
No. The experience of in England, although very multicultural, right? Like Toronto actually, very multiracial, and has a history of that, wasn't actually represented in television as much. So, we wouldn't see, Afro-Caribbean people on television and characters as much as we'd like to, as much as we'd seen in America. So that was the main difference. However, the actual, finding a job, getting a job, the politics surrounding being a black man in the film industry is all the same all over the world. So there was I didn't get to America and suddenly it was gravy. In fact, I got to America and didn't work for 4 years. Right. And partly it's because my accent was terrible.
Really?
Yeah. So I practiced every day. Like, I lived in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and I just walk around with an American accent the whole time. It's
actually, and it's not just acting for you, obviously, there's so many other things that your music's important to you. And you can follow, if you follow him on Twitter, you'll find out when you are DJing a set. Here's some of him in action, by the way. Watch it. There's Idris DJing in Miami.
Where'd I get that shirt from? Look at that shirt. That shirt's bright.
You were DJing long before you were a famous actor, weren't you?
Yeah, I started off DJing as I was about 14 years old. My uncle was a DJ, and he did weddings and christenings, and he dragged me along, and I ended up DJing for him when he had too much to drink. So that's a true story. And but by the time I was 16, I was on like pirate radio and DJing in clubs, and I just love doing it. I do it for keeps my feet on the ground.
Right.
And by the way, you know, people, you've been out to clubs, you don't care who the DJ is half the time, you just want to dance, you know, so I love it, it keeps me alive.
All right, stick around, we're going to talk about Britain, Beyonce, and Stringer Bell. More Anthropology with Idris Elba after this.
Pops, are you involved with the police or touring?
Not too worried, though. You just concentrate on doing what you do best. Being beautiful.
Sublight Pizza. Hey.
About time. Meet you in the bay.
Hot delivery anywhere on Altar, guaranteed.
Get out of here.
Amazing.
Whoa. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's one of your first TV credits, right?
In case you didn't notice, that wasn't my voice.
Yeah.
They changed my voice. Apparently my American accent wasn't very good back then.
Okay, so let me Anthropology. How often do you Google yourself?
I don't Google myself as much as I check pictures. So if I've been to an event, I'll check what I look like. I know it sounds terrible, but it just helps me. Anyway, don't worry about it.
What's the one record that every DJ should have within arm's reach at all times?
Michael Jackson, Do You Want to Be Starting Something? I mean, you've got to have that. You could play it anywhere. You could play it at a funeral and someone would start dancing.
What's your go-to karaoke song? Do you have one?
Bob Marley, One Love.
So I'm sure it's a question that you faced before, but if Stringer Bell had to fight Luther in a dark alley, who wins?
Good question. I think Luther would beat Stringer.
Really?
But intellectually, I think Stringer would beat Luther.
So what if Idris shows up and has to get in there? Who wins that fight?
This is what I would do. I would punch Luther in the mouth, and I'd do a business deal with Stringer.
Who's more intimidating, Beyonce or Jay-Z?
Who's more intimidating?
Yeah.
They're not intimidating people. They're really, really cool people, both of them. Beyonce's so sweet, and Jay's very focused.
Who would win in a game of FIFA, you or Noel Gallagher?
I'd have to say I'd kick Noel's ass.
Would you?
For sure. But he would disagree. By the way, he loves FIFA and he's really technical about it, but I'm better than him.
Does playing Nelson Mandela and being, I mean, your parents are born in Africa.
Yeah.
Does it take on a different meaning for you?
I mean, it's an absolute sort of inheritance by being, you know, African, that, you know, to play someone like Nelson it means a lot to my family, it means a lot to us, my countries. I'm half Ghanaian, half Sierra Leonean, and the news of me playing Mandela is big out there. So, yeah, it means a lot. It definitely means a lot.
All right, time for a new feature, which is called Questions for an Englishman. When do you feel the most British?
I feel the most British whenever I go to a cafe and order breakfast. Mm-hmm. Because just the way I speak and, you know, can I have a couple of eggs? Can I have them sunny side up? And they always go, what?
Which better represents Britain, Queen the band or Queen the Queen?
Queen the band.
Zeppelin or the Who? By the way, that's the right answer. That's the right answer.
It's true.
Zeppelin or the Who?
The Who.
Dizzy Rascal or the Streets?
Dizzy.
Which is your favorite Commonwealth country? Hint, hint.
England!
Idris Elba, everybody. We'll be right back.